Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. We are extremely fired up here at DFS Coach Talk to discuss the NBA Finals. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am here with my partner in crime, Mr. Andrew Hansen. Andrew, we're at the NBA Finals, man. Can you believe this?
It's awesome. It's been a bit of a blur here with the bubble, but we've had a terrific summer at DFS Coach Talk. And what an exciting matchup here and huge contests on both sites. Millionaire
Yes.
Maker on DraftKings, the contest on FanDuel with 500K to first place. So we got
Yep.
to really dig in here and help folks build their lineups.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I had to go with the partiality here with a little Heat garb. I'm a big Mavericks and Heat fan. Those are the two teams I follow closely. So I am fired up. So I had to wear this in their honor, but I still got the Coach Talk hat on. But I'm fired up for the series, and I'll tell you, we're doing this early morning Tuesday for the Wednesday night show because game because we wanted to go through this and really start breaking it down and looking at matchups and talking it through because there's a tremendous amount of intrigue here and who's going to go big or small and how the matchups are going to work. The pace of play, everything that's going to be dictated here by the coaches are going to make a huge difference in the outcome. So what we want to do is bring this to you a little earlier than normal, go through all those elements of it, and really try to allow you to start building out some solid lineups for these big contests. There are some great ones on all the sites, definitely DraftKings and FanDuel, and we also supply a Yahoo lineup too. So some great stuff. And, we strongly recommend you check out the podcast, follow us on Twitter, follow us in Discord, and it is a great time to become a member and jump in there because once they do finalize these starting lineups and you can go a little bit deeper, in making your final lineup for the contests, you're going to want to be in Discord with us as that news breaks and any changes that happen. So why don't you tell our listeners real quickly how they can jump aboard here at DFS Coach Talk?
Yeah, absolutely. Just go to our website, dfscoachtalk.com, and you can pick up one of our memberships, a week, month, year, or the fall special with a lot of folks have been doing who are into football. And our NFL coverage has been terrific. Our lineups have been crushing it here the first 3 weeks on the main slate, on the showdowns. So that's the other great benefit about joining DFS Coach Talk is you get access to all of our sports with whatever membership you get. And then we give you those full FanDuel lineups, the coach's clipboard on DraftKings with the core plays and pivots. So great time to join with all these sports, not to mention Major League Baseball kicking off and coach gives out those lineups. He's had an awesome summer in baseball. So definitely join us as a member. We'll get you right into Discord and get you those lineups.
It's funny, awesome summer in baseball. It's really been an awesome fall in baseball. Sports are all screwed up with the times that they're being played.
Yep.
It's like, when is what sport going? We had a meeting tonight with our Coach Talk team, and we were like, man, this is pretty cool. We're all going a million different ways. We're 11, 12 podcasts a week and everything going on. And, I had brought up the point, this may never happen again in our lifetime that all these sports are happening at the same time. It's just this crazy COVID world that we've lived in this year has created this domino effect for everything being played. So it is sort of crazy, especially after, the days of KBO in the middle of the night, and that's all we had, to
Right.
all of a sudden, we used to talk about it back then. Hey, someday,
Right.
in the next couple months, we're going to have all these sports at once, and here we are, man. But our favorite sport at Coach Talk, there's no hiding it. NBA basketball is our game. We're crushing. We've done so well in football and baseball. It's just been awesome. But we love the game of basketball. We love talking it. We love breaking it down. So let's start doing that with this game because the strategy on this is going to be everything. It's going to be as important to figure out these rotations and minutes and how everything's going to play out. It's going to be completely different than the last two series. So that's the thing that I really want to make clear is the strategy that the Lakers used against Denver with playing Howard to be the irritant to the Joker and the rotations and such that they used is going to be a lot different than in this series. And then the same thing goes with the Heat. How they had to match up with a smaller Boston team, and just a lot of the rotations they used in heavy on the guards, especially finishing games with really Duncan Robinson and Butler playing almost the big spots in some of the finishes with Crowder. So, but everything changes here because you have a different rotation of players. You have Spoelstra, who's one of the best coaches in the league, and I know he's going to roll out a completely different game plan. He and Riles will be back there strategizing, exactly what to do to take down the Lakers. And if anybody knows LeBron, it's certainly Riles and Spoelstra, because it's ironic that he's back in the finals against the Heat,
right,
of all teams. So very exciting stuff, man. So anyway, as we jump in here, I want to thank our presenting sponsor, and that is BetUS.com.pa. They are the best sports book in the world. They are awesome. Definitely jump aboard there. You get 125% match on your first deposit by using the promo code CoachTalk, all one word, no space. And you can sign up either at betus.com.pa or at dfscoachtalk.com. And take advantage of that going into this series. There's some great prices if you want to bet the whole series, etc. So, put in 100, you get 125 free play, and you can make that really count. So we're really appreciative of our friends at BetUS. All right, speaking of BetUS, let's start out with looking at the updated to-the-moment odds on this early Tuesday morning as the bets start flooding in now on the NBA for this final series. And it is the Lakers -5. They're -200 on the money line. The over-under is 217.5. The implied total for the Lakers is 111.5, and for the Heat 106. So, a favoritism for the Lakers, but not, I was trying to predict the line ahead, and I was thinking the Lakers by 6 or 6.5. So it came in a little under that, and we've talked about it multiple times. When the NBA falls on 4 or 5 points, that doesn't mean a ton, because those final foul shots in games and such, can change that. So my message, I believe, that Vegas is saying is they expect this to be pretty tight.
Yeah. It is a difficult line, and I would probably shy away from it. If anything, I might go on the under. But these teams have played twice. The first time they played, it was 95-80. The Lakers won that one. And then the second one was a lot tighter, higher scoring, 113-110. But as we get into these lineup breakdowns for DFS, we'll talk a little bit more about who played in those games, because the lineups have changed drastically.
Yeah.
Just to give you a quick preview, in the first game, Kendrick Nunn and Myers Leonard started for Miami. Wow. And in fact, they started in the second game too. And you'll recall that those were in November and December, before the Heat acquired Crowder and Iguodala. They weren't playing. So Miami's gotten much better, and the rotation is going to be a lot different just because how they've changed their starting lineup, and Crowder and Iguodala are now factors.
I don't think Nunn and Leonard will see the floor. So, when you consider they, 40% of their lineup that they played 2 games against the Lakers with aren't even going to see the floor, that changes up everything, the matchups, etc. I guess let's just start off with the most important thing here is we need to figure out the rotation and how this is going to work, specifically with the Lakers. We know the Heat are going to start their regular 5. It's going to be Butler, Crowder, Adebayo, Robinson, and Dragic. And they're going to bring Hero and Iguodala off the bench, and probably Olynyk is going to have to get minutes in this series. And that's one of the things we'll talk about. So, that's sort of going to be that top 8 guys for the Heat. But the Lakers are a completely different question. And this this is what we got to talk through a little bit, because I think we have a little bit differing opinions here. And that's going to be the question is, do the Lakers go big? And if they do they start Howard like they did in the last couple of games against the Joker? Or do they go back to McGee, who had a couple of really good games during the regular season against the Heat? Or do they go small and, put one of the either Rondo or Markieff Morris or Kuzma or one of those guys in there to start and let AD play center? So that has a huge influence on the rotations and really the output from both teams. Because if they do go big, then I got to think Kelly O gets 20, 25 minutes in relief or aside of Bam. And if not, then again, that changes that whole rotation of who's going to get those extra minutes. So I'm from the school of thought. And again, I know this is against probably the favorite side of this if we had to guess it right now, but I think the Lakers go back to a smaller ball like they did against the Rockets. This is just, again, I have nothing in writing from anybody anywhere, any beat writers, no quotes from Vogel. We're going to be following all of that with a fine-tooth comb in the next 48 hours, and we will have all that final information. But even, we'll see who they start, but I just think they match up better against the Heat defensively if they go smaller. And here's my question to you, and then I'll let you break it down and explain why I believe you like the bigger lineup. If they do start, let's say they go back to their lineup that they usually use with McGee starting and Howard. My question to you is, McGee and Davis. If they go those two at the 4-5, how do they match up with the Heat? I would assume Davis, who I think was the defensive player of the year, should guard Bam personally. But then who does McGee go on? And how do you see that matching up?
Yeah. So in general, I think the Lakers are going to go big. That's their edge. That's what makes them different. They have those, if you include LeBron, they've got 4 towers with AD, McGee, and Howard. And Miami is smaller and quicker, and that's their edge. And I think the Lakers are going to stay big against Miami because it's worked in both regular season matchups against them. It is their strength, and it forces Miami to change how they approach things because, as you said, Olynyk is going to have to be in the rotation. In these 2 regular season games, he played 30 minutes and then 21, which is a lot more than what he's been playing against Boston. And so he's not in that groove. He's not in their regular rotation. But so I think the Lakers are going to look at that as an edge where we're going to make Miami adjust to us and go bigger and try to figure out how to deal with us inside. And
but my question is, how are they going to guard him?
Right. So here's what I think is going to happen. I think we don't know if they're going to start Howard or McGee if they go big. I think they'll start one of them, and whoever starts out of those 2, I think starts on Bam, and they try to use all their energy, wear him down. Howard's going to try to ruffle his feathers like he did with Jokic, and then they let AD just run around on the perimeter with Crowder, and then LeBron is on Butler. I think that's how they start, and they use that size to their advantage.
Interesting. I mean, it's very possible. I mean, it is possible. I think, the strategy, if they're looking to take away Bam as much as they can, and split the time between McGee and Howard, it does give them 12 fouls to bang on them and cause some trouble. I just, have you seen Bam bring the ball down? He brings the ball up the court. He's like a point center half the time. He dribbles between his legs. He has moves. I just don't know if McGee or Howard can get that far away from the basket. Because I guarantee you, if they put one of those guys on him, you're going to see Bam with the ball on the perimeter. And he's going to cause all kinds of trouble for those guys. So I invite that. If I think that's a good thing for the Heat if they do try to go that direction. because I
Well,
don't think they can handle Bam 23, 24 feet from the basket.
yeah, in a one-on-one matchup, he's got the edge against those guys. He's got the skill to handle the ball and do damage in a way that they're not used to guarding. But they did contain him in the regular season. And as you referenced earlier, McGee had some of his best games. I mean, he had near double doubles in both games. The
Yeah.
second game, he had 9 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 blocks in only 17 minutes.
Yeah.
Now he hasn't been playing as well or as much lately, so I'm not predicting that output from him. And he may not even play. I mean, they may start Howard, and then they may go Markieff Morris off the bench. But again, I think there's a good chance that they do both play, and the numbers are going to have to change for Bam because he's been okay against them, but he hasn't been as effective as he has, say, against the Celtics.
Yeah, and again, it's a totally different matchup. But for me, rooting for the Heat, I hope the Lakers go big because I think the Heat are going to have a more difficult time if they do go smaller. I know this is way out in right field, but I'm just going to throw it out there. If I'm Vogel, I either start Rondo or I get Rondo out there on the floor and put AD at the 5 as much as possible because I think that lineup is going to create a tremendous amount of trouble for Miami. And here's why I think the lineup that can win this is that group of Rondo, Danny Green, LeBron, AD, and who's my fifth guy?
Pope.
And I think that group, and here's why, defensively, they're trouble because they'll put Danny Green on Goran Dragic. And that's very important because Goran is the motor of the team, and they need him on him. Rondo is a good defender. He's got those long arms. He deflects everything, and they will put him. I think they'll put him directly on Duncan Robinson to try to take away those threes. And then when Tyler Hero comes in, he'll be able to contain Hero much better. As well. Now, maybe Vogel brings him off the bench when they bring Hero in so he can guard him. That's possible. But that backcourt, I think, is the most sound. The guy that can guard, in my opinion, Bam, anywhere on the floor is Anthony Davis. He can guard a 3. So, I mean, he could play him anywhere. And then that leaves LeBron, to muscle up against Crowder and, Duncan Robinson can be on Pope. So I think that type of situation right there really is most conducive to Boston or the Lakers. So we'll see. Now Miami on the other side of the ball, I think they're going to have Crowder on LeBron. I think that's a no-brainer. I think he's going to try. LeBron, as we've seen through the playoffs, especially. I mean, his bully ball is unbelievable. And Crowder is stronger than most people that will guard him, and he's very adept at taking charges. So I think Crowder's a pretty good matchup for LeBron. Bam is super adept, as Jaylen Brown learned at the rim, or Jason Tatum. Who was it? Tatum.
Yeah.
So Bam can defend AD too. So there's going to be some phenomenal matchups there without question. So again, we say all this to, have you start thinking through some of these scenarios and really what's going to play out. So let's say they go smaller like I'm thinking. Let me start touching on a few guys I think in that type of scenario will stand out. First of all, I think Goran Dragic has been terrific, and they need him to play well. I'm concerned that Danny Green is going to give him trouble. Green's given him trouble in the past. He's the kind of defender that's smart enough to cut the angles down. Dragic is an angles guy. He gets that half a step and finishes at the rim. So this is not the best matchup for Dragic. That's not going to be my go-to guy on the Heat. I think the guys that are going to step up are going to be Jay Crowder. I really do. I think LeBron is going to be he's a great defender, but he's going to be in help mode. He's going to be in sink, recover, moving. He's going to try to double down on Bam. When Hero's out there, he's going to also have some responsibilities there. And then with the rotation, I just think Crowder is a cheap play, is smart. I also like Jimmy Butler a lot. I mean, I know he's got all the attention. He's going to be highly owned. He's not a great shooter. We all know that. But I just, this matchup works well for him because, the Lakers are really a two-man show. Let's face it. It's LeBron and Davis, and there's a drop-off to all the rest of those guys. And they'll all play their roles, Caruso and their whole rotation. They're very good, and they've got some depth. But I think Jimmy Butler can just do a little of everything. Because even when he's not shooting great, he's getting a ton of assists. He's getting a ton of rebounds. And I think this matchup, I think he's going to show out. I mean, they are in such a groove right now. He's their leader. They're really feeling it. And, I think Butler and Crowder and possibly Hero off the bench can be a lot more determining factors than the two biggest chalk guys probably on Miami, which are Bam and Dragic. I think the Lakers try to take those two guys away. So that's where I'm leaning on the Miami side. You want to throw your 2 cents on the Heat?
Yeah, for the starters there and Hero, I'm with you for the most part. I do, in the last series and recently, I've been playing Dragic a lot more than Butler. He's been more aggressive. He's been taking many more shots on average than Butler.
Yeah,
but
and he's
in
cheaper.
Yep, exactly. But in this series, game 1 of the finals, I do think Butler will be a little bit more aggressive offensively. Could be a tougher matchup for Dragic, like you said. As I've said, Bam hasn't done quite as well against all these towers. So I do like Butler a little bit more than I have been. I do like Crowder. He's been great here in the playoffs. He's a lot cheaper. We know he gets big minutes. The one concern I have with Crowder is his defensive matchup and does he get in foul trouble? Because I think he's going to be guarding either LeBron or AD or a combination. It's going to be a real tough challenge for him defensively, whatever he does. And I know he plays hard. He plays big minutes, but that's a tough assignment to then go down and try to focus on offense. And yes, he spots up a lot of times and shoots threes. So, it could work out for him, but that's my one concern on Crowder. But then, with Duncan Robinson and Hero, I agree with you. I think Hero's in a much better spot coming off the bench. He should have better matchups. And then, with that Heat bench, I've got to mention Olynyk. If the Lakers go big, as I think they will, I do think he'll get around 20 minutes at least. And, you mentioned it also talking about Bam and Olynyk. They did play alongside each other in these matchups, both games. In the second game, they played at least 8 minutes together on the court. And in the first game, it was even more. It was actually at least 20 minutes together. So, you don't typically think about Bam and Olynyk playing together.
Well, not to interrupt you, but if you add Leonard's minutes into that, and the fact that he won't play and dispense that minutes, if you're right and they go big, then you're going to see Bam and Olynyk out there a lot together. Right. I really believe that. So that would make Olynyk a no-brainer, correct?
It would. And then look at this. Look at his price. On DraftKings, he's only $2,000. And on FanDuel, 6.5. So, we've talked recently about some of the showdown pricing, how tough it's been on a couple games here and there. But I really like the pricing on both sites here. I'm excited about this slate. And Olynyk is one of the keys for me because if we see that Howard or McGee is starting, then I think Olynyk is in play on both sites, and he's even in play as a captain on DraftKings. And if you're new to our program, we've talked about this a lot here this summer because of all the showdown slates that we've had. But on DraftKings, it's a much different analysis when you look at captain. It's not just jam in your best guy who you think is going to get the most fantasy points like it is on FanDuel for your MVP. On DraftKings, you have to pay 1.5x.
Right.
And the whole structure is set up so that if you use LeBron or AD as your captain on DraftKings, it really changes who you can afford with the rest of your lineup. But if you get a mid-tier guy or a cheap guy as your captain who can get you 20 or 30 fantasy points, you've got a lot of money and you can fill out the rest of your roster with a whole group of stars. And I think it's worth doing on this slate with Olynyk.
I think he's mispriced. I understand it because he didn't have much of a role in this last series at all. But this is a completely different matchup. And if you look at the Miami, roster, who else is going to play the big? I mean, it's Bam, and then after that, it's not going to. You can't just count on Crowder, Iguodala, or Solomon Hill or Derrick Jones Jr. Myers Leonard isn't going to play. So it's got to be him. I mean, there's no other big that they can count on. And Spoelstra has always shown a lot of confidence in Olynyk in the right scenarios. And he's the kind of coach that, really adjusts. I mean, if it's a matchup differential, he'll sit a guy, did not play coach's decision, and then play him 30 minutes. I mean,
right. He's
done that a lot through his career based on the situation and the matchup. So I'm with you. I think the first takeaway you should get from this podcast today is Kelly O's got to be the value play that is a lock and load. I think he's going to be wildly owned, very chalky, but you got to eat the chalk here. You have to. As far as playing him as the captain, I know you've got a lot more courage in doing that with the cheaper guys than I do. But I mean, I see the value in doing that. But I'll have a couple of different cash builds with definitely him in there. But I don't know, as the captain for sure. But, I think that's how I see it on that side of the ball. So let's go over to the Lakers side a little bit. We've done multiple times throughout this playoff stretch of starting LeBron and AD and figuring out all the rest. Now, Olynyk to me gives me that path again. I'm not convinced that Howard or McGee gets a ton of minutes. And even if they do go bigger, I don't want those guys splitting minutes. That's no good to me. Howard, to me, is not going to play the role he did against Denver. He was the hired gun for the Joker. Bam is a completely different player than the Joker. And so I just don't think Howard's role will be as big. And like you said, McGee may start, play 8 minutes, and never come back in the game. I mean, it's too risky to me. And the rest of the guys, as far as from a confidence standpoint, I know you got to go to one of these guys to make out your lineups a lot of times. But after LeBron and Davis, and this is my question, I'll throw back to you. Do you trust in a showdown slate Danny Green, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Kyle Kuzma, Alex Caruso, Markieff Morris, or any of all those guys are going to be key minutes guys. The only guy I didn't mention is Rondo because I think he deserves to be in a little bit above that class. He'd be the first guy in for me after LeBron and Davis. But I can't say any of those other guys. I would say to you, man, that is a solid play. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. Those are all guys that are on shaky ground. Yeah, and Rondo is in a class by himself when we're talking about Lakers other than LeBron and AD. Of course, he's more expensive than the rest of that group. Not by much on DraftKings, though. He's 5.4, and then Pope and Green are in the 4s, Kuzma and Caruso in the 3s. On FanDuel, he's 10,000, though. So a little bit tougher to get him in over there if you like him. And but in terms of these bench guys for the Lakers, I'll say that Rondo, didn't play in the first matchup against Miami in the regular season. The second one, played 25 minutes, didn't score, didn't do too much. But obviously, he's been playing a lot better in the bubble. So I think you throw those numbers out and you look at his recent form, and he's certainly in consideration for me. We've talked on recent shows about Pope and Green, how inconsistent they are. And they can give you 8 fantasy points or 24. That's why you can't trust them, because you just don't know on any given night what you're going to get.
They can sink your lineup. Absolutely.
But Caruso, to me, out of that group, is the most trustworthy, and it's a nice benefit because his price is cheaper too. He's only 3,000 on DraftKings.
Yeah.
For GPPs, he's another guy that you could use as a captain. Um, and again, you gotta throw out the matchup stats for Caruso because in the first two regular season matchups, Avery Bradley started the first game and came off the bench in the second one and played 19 minutes.
Yeah.
And with him not there, obviously Caruso's role has grown dramatically. So don't even look at those matchup stats for Caruso. Again, you got to look at recent minutes and his role in the rotation. And at that price, 3,000 on DraftKings, 7,000 on FanDuel for GPPs, I think he's somebody you can look at.
Yeah, I mean, he's been tough. I mean, he was my hero in that last game. Well, wait a minute. A hero with two R's or one O? No, yeah, he was my hero with one R in the last time because he came off the bench and did fantastic stuff. The recency question of him doing that in everybody's mind is he going to be overowned? That's always that thing that scares me. He's playing good ball though. There's no doubt about it. And they're going to need him, and he's so scrappy. So I mean, he's going to get minutes as well, and can be in consideration. For me, it's pretty simple. I'll just tell you right now, it's James and Davis. I'm playing both of them. I'm going to ride those two into the sunset. I just think you have to. If you statistically look at the usage throughout the playoffs, as far as just flat out usage, getting the ball, shots, the whole 9 yards, rebounds, handle, assist. I mean, they are so dominant that it's unbelievable. I mean, it's not anywhere in comparison to the Heat. The Heat, it's very diversified. I mean, you've got Dragic, Hero, Butler, Bam, Duncan Robinson. All these guys have had big games. They've all split responsibility. Some games they'll have 30, another guy will have 10, and then the other guy has 30. I mean, they can all create issues for you. The Lakers, this LeBron and Davis, in my opinion, are just so much above the rest of this team, and everybody knows it. They've taken the mantle. They want to win this for Kobe, for everything that's gone on. I see those two as such cinch plays. I don't think you need to get too cute and fade them. So I guarantee you, as we go through this, unless there's an injury, I'm going to put Davis and James in my lineup in every game in this series. So I know that's harsh, but that's what I'm going to do.
I probably will also, for all the reasons you said. And I want to ask you who you're leaning towards as your MVP on FanDuel, because I know a lot of the recent showdowns you've kind of leaned towards Anthony Davis. But I did hear you on the Lost podcast recognizing and applauding LeBron's greatness and how he's risen to the occasion lately. And as we see there on your shirt, this is his former team that he's going up against. Yeah. He's probably going to bring a little something extra special here. Want to get this ring, want to get off to a good start. So is there a chance you might consider LeBron as your MVP in game one?
I'm leaning towards that direction. Okay. I really am. I just think, the stars have all aligned. Let's face it. Just the Kobe situation alone, they're wearing the Kobe uniforms a lot. And that alone, other than the social injustice, all the other stuff that's gone on, being in the bubble against all odds. A guy like LeBron, the greatest of the great, like Michael, watching that whole series about Michael Jordan, when he could just grasp on something to motivate him, like when he made up that story about the guy saying something in the restaurant. Right. Anything he could grasp onto to take him to another level, he would do. That's because they're already the best of the best. And LeBron is having that served to him on a platter. He's the voice of the NBA. Look how many times he's been called out by Fox News and the president and, shut up and dribble and all of those things, on and on. How can you be more motivated than this guy? So, I mean, he's in perfect health. He looks great. Why overthink it? I mean, for me, it's LeBron as my captain until I see something different. I know I leaned toward Davis a lot in this last round because I just thought he had a distinctive advantage inside against the Nuggets because of really the lack of athleticism from the Joker. And I just didn't think they had anybody in there. Whereas with Bam being so athletic and even Kelly O and different guys they bring in, those guys can move. And I think they'll play him a little bit tougher. And let's face it, he hasn't been anywhere near what he should be on the boards. Right. I mean, multiple games in a row, he's gone into the second half with like 0 rebounds or 2 rebounds. So, LeBron is the dog. He's the man. I think he's the guy you have to start and end your lineup with. But Davis is just too damn good and too motivated, I think, to not be the second banana to LeBron. And then figuring out what to do from there is going to be what I grind out the next 2 days and try to determine. Because, if it's Rondo or Caruso or just bail the rest of the Lakers and go try to pluck out the guys from the Heat that will step up, like a Crowder or a Duncan Robinson. I mean, he is shooting with confidence. He has the ultimate green light. I mean, if you can hear guys on the bench when he gets the ball, no matter where he's at, shoot, because the big thing, I guess, for them, they had to threaten him to find him if he didn't shoot the ball, because he was passing up threes. And and if you notice, even in clutch situations, Butler was setting a screen for him and doing the handoff. I mean, the top guys on the team saying, hey, dude, shoot the three. You're the best shooter on the planet. Shoot it. So when you got your team believing in you like that, I know he doesn't put a lot of other ancillary stats on the board, but he's got size. He can get a few boards here and there. And I'd be shocked if he doesn't hit 5-6 threes in this game. So I think he's a great alternative guy as well. So, to answer your question, LeBron James is more likely going to be my captain. Davis will be there. Not sure on the rest of the Lakers. I love that initial unit of Crowder with value, Olynyk with huge value, either Duncan Robinson, Hero, a couple of these other guys you can use there. And, you're going to have enough, I think, left over by doing that, even with LeBron as a captain, where you're not going to have to go to a Markieff Morris or Howard or McGee or any of those guys. You'll still be able to get even a cut above a Kuzma or guys like that. I think you'll be able to get, one of the other key contributors, probably not Bam, but from a money standpoint, maybe a Dragic. He may slide in there as well.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be a lot of fun to build out these lineups on both sites. I do like the pricing and the structure and the matchups. Is so much intrigue. And the great thing about this being a one-game slate is we're going to have the starting lineups, but we don't know yet. I mean, we're about 44 or 45 hours away from tip, so we don't know yet what the starting lineups are. But that's one more reason to jump in with us as a member, because we're going to be prepared for either scenario. If the Lakers are going to go small, we're going to be ready with our multiple lineups on FanDuel. If the Lakers are going to go big, that's an immediate domino effect, and we're going to be ready for that as well.
No doubt. The best thing to do to follow us is, the next 2 days, catch us on Twitter. We're all at DFS Coach Talk. I'm at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. Andrew is at Language Olympic, and Shane is at DET Sports Shane. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, this is our one ask every pod. We would ask you to please smash that like button, give us the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and certainly hit the little alarm on the right side of your screen there. That will give you an alert every time one of our pods posts. So we really recommend that you do that. Also, support our wonderful partners at betus.com.pa. They have some fantastic contests even for this NBA Finals. So they are definitely somewhere you want to go for your action. In fact, let's take just a quick second here and listen to our man at BetUS. Listen in.
Wake up, sports bettors. Sports are in high gear at BetUS.com, so put down the beer and make every sporting event more exciting by putting stakes on the line at BetUS. Earn bragging rights over your friends as you rake in the cash from each week's betting action. But don't settle for any other book. Choose America's favorite sports book with over 25 trusted years in the industry, BetUS. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity, but more importantly, you need a sports book that pays. BetUS has your game with action on football, baseball, basketball, MMA, golf, horse racing, and even esports. No other sportsbook welcomes newcomers like BetUS with their jaw-dropping sign-up bonuses. Sign up now with promo code CoachTalk for 125% sign-up bonus up to $2,000. The best in the biz. Now you have the best book in the business with the best DFS provider in the business, Coach Talk. Create your account to make point spread bets, futures bets, prop bets, entertainment bets, live bets, and more. No other sportsbook is as committed to their members as BetUS. Sign up now and get in on the winning side of the ball.
There it is, Andrew. You got to love it. You got to love it. I wish I had that voice. I would do the entire podcast with that voice.
That would be intense.
That would be intense. You would be we'd both be exhausted after that. Listen, the other thing, if you're listening to us on our Spotify, iTunes, everywhere podcasts can be heard, we are everywhere. Podbean, iHeart, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, you name it. Please take a second. There's only 2 days left. 2 days left. If you've been putting it off, get on iTunes, quick review, 5 stars. That qualifies you for the contest. Or all you got to do on Spotify is follow us. Our man Leighton will be doing, in 2 days, he'll be doing the randomizer to choose one free month membership. So a full month of Coach Talk, just you qualify by doing one of those things. So we really appreciate you. Any of the podcast outlets, give us likes, thumbs up. All of that makes a difference to us. And you can catch us on Instagram too. If you're an Instagrammer, DFS_Coach Talk there. But if you want any information about Coach Talk, go to dfscoachtalk.com. You can see all our options to sign up, because yes, we'll be on Twitter the next couple of days with any news that comes out, lineups, Coach Talk, the whole 9 yards. But when a push comes to shove, we want to have you in Discord with us. And to become a member, you get in Discord. All of our tremendous members are in there chatting, giving opinions, lots of sports talk, a lot of, brain waves flying around on strategy, what's going to happen, how it's going to work. And boy, the Coach Talk family sticks together. I mean, we really back each other. We all, proudly have the Coach Talk badge on DraftKings and FanDuel and Yahoo as well. And love when there's a bunch of us up there towards the top. So definitely join us there also. So, it's going to be a great series, in my opinion. I know a lot of people think the Lakers have them overmatched a little bit. I guarantee you they were not fired up to be playing the Heat, because the Heat are some dogs, man. They got each other's back. They play hard. They have one of the top 2 or 3 coaches for sure in Spoelstra in the entire league. I'm telling you right now, not because I'm a big fan. I think this is going to be a great 6-7 game series. I don't think this is going to be disappointing at all. I think they're both going to show up. And for all the reasons we talked about on this show, I think it's going to be a dogfight.
I think it could be. We'll see how it all shakes out, who gets the breaks. But we did see it in that last series against the Celtics. They were down repeatedly in the second half by double digits. And they never quit. They kept coming back. And the thing is, they've got those shooters, Robinson and Hero. And with all the other guys around them playing hard, being so versatile, they won't go away. So the Lakers, they can't let up. And we'll see if they're ready for all that activity here in Game 1.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's going to have to step up from that group of Lakers I was just dogging, because, yes, you can rest on James and Davis's shoulders quite a bit, but, you're not going to take down a series like this unless somebody else or 1 or 2 guys have a good series besides the 2 studs. So it's going to be fun, man. And I hope this gives our listeners a good initial feel for our builds, what we're looking to do, what we're thinking. And then just stick with us the next couple of days. This podcast will post up until game time, but, we'll be on Twitter, like I said, and in our Discord, chatting it up the whole time. Tomorrow, this morning, later this morning, we have
Tuesday.
the MLB playoffs starting. So we're going to be, we've been on fire. We've had monster takedowns in baseball. So follow us with that. And then before you know it, we've got PGA again, and you've got football coming back around. So
Yes,
what
sir.
a fantastic week at Coach
Awesome.
Talk. Yeah, we just want to keep it rolling, man. Just keep it rolling. And just couldn't be more excited about the NBA Finals here. This is so much fun, and I think it's going to be a terrific series.
Let's get after it.
Any final words for our listeners?
Thank you all for tuning in and for your support.
We really appreciate it, and we hope you enjoyed this. Give us some feedback. Shoot us some tweets. You can DM us. We'll always answer. Shoot us some questions or anything, comments on YouTube. We'll also make sure and respond. And, if a lot of discussion the last 3 or 4 days, Andrew, about, our theories on bankroll management, contest selection, all of that. And we're, feel free to dig into our library there. DFS Coach Talk on YouTube. We've got a great library of podcasts. You can go back and look through. We've had a few members posting some of that stuff in our Discord because it all helps, to keep you focused on really the long-term sustainability and just crushing it in DFS. And that's what we're all about here. So that's what we're looking to do. But thank you, sir, for your input. I'm excited that we're getting this out a little bit early for everybody to slice and dice and try to figure out with us. And we'll certainly be back, not tomorrow, because, actually it will be late tomorrow night for the next night, won't it be? Or I don't know. I can't keep track.
It's hard to keep track, but there is football and golf coming this week in terms of our podcasts. And of course, we'll have an NBA podcast before game 2.
Absolutely. And just more of a reason to hit the alert button when I don't even know when our next podcast is. You want to be alerted when it posts. So that would be great. So thank you all for joining us. And we will be back. That's for darn sure. And we will be looking to crush it in DFS.